Alright everybody, and welcome back to the first interview in nearly 2 years. And I tried to get all the other Caddis brothers, but I couldn't, so I'm stuck with this one. So my guest tonight, Glenafton manager Ryan Caddis. Caddy, how you doing, mate?
I'm alright, buddy. Aye, you must be clutching at straws if I'm your first one, eh?
I tell you what, it's funny though, that it's something that I've missed as well, is we have a conversation before we start, and then I pretend when we start that I've not spoken to you and asked you how you are. But no, how's things, mate?
Aye, alright, aye.
And I know you're tired after a long day at work.
Aye, yeah. No, that's fine. That's what it is. I've got to make money. I've got a wife with a champagne lifestyle and a Coca-Cola budget, so I've got
Oh,
to
surely with the Glenafton wages, you don't need to worry too much about money.
Aye, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Look, mate, we'll just dive in. I mentioned kind of your brothers there and that, right? So you're obviously from a very footballing type family. What was it like for you growing up? And you're the oldest of your brothers, aren't you?
Aye, I'm the role model.
You're the reason that they all turned out better.
Aye.
But how was it growing up for you, Ayrshire boy, younger brothers getting into football?
So we're probably just like any other family. Paul, to be honest with you, at the time growing up, it was like me and Paul. Then Liam and Dylan came along a few years later. But no, we stayed in the scheme, Glenafton, now the programme scheme. So
Is that one thing?
aye. So we stayed there. Me and Paul played football, but I never started till late. I was probably 12 or 13 before I started playing football. I'd done taekwondo as a young boy first.
Aye.
Couldn't fight sleep, but I'd done that. And then started playing football at school with the boys at school, and it kind of went for there. I was doing the two of them, and I couldn't do both. It was killing me, so I decided to chuck the taekwondo and go to football, and it just really kind of went for there. But the youngest one, Dylan's a goalkeeper because he never really had a choice. You get in
The three years just fired the bottom.
We just smashed balls in it, am I? So, it was like just normal four boys growing up. But all we had was a bottle fit, really.
I suppose your old man probably needed somebody to change the telly. That's how he kept having Merwin. So, because I know you're a bit behind in Ayrshire, so it was just to get up and press the telly to change.
My brother's actually my uncle, as he said in this one. Well, I think my mum and dad were young parents, to be fair. So I think they got a telly 1 year. And that was it. It stopped.
So, who did you play with growing up? What was your kind of boys' club team once you started?
Boys' club, when I first started, I played like with Kelly Poland, and then I went to my real kind of first team was Dean Thistle. I played there for a wee while, and I went to Cape Park for a spell, and then I went amateur when I was 15. I went to Fenwick Amateurs at 15, Craigie, and then I played a fives tournament. No, a fives tournament. My dad works mates. I played in a fives game with them every Monday night, and one of the guys that was there was with Anbank Juniors at the time. He asked me if I wanted to get into Anbank for a trial, crying at 15, just turning 16. And I went in there, and that's when the junior career started for Anbank when I was about 15 or 16, I think.
How did you find that at 15? The reason I'm asking, I remember at 16, I made my reserve debut at Airdrie, and we were playing Bowness. So I knew, like, originally I was for Maryhill, so I would occasionally go and watch Maryhill, and I knew a bit, like, when I moved, the Renfrew Juniors were nearby me. So I knew a bit about junior football, but no great deal. And I remember coming on against Bowness. I was playing centre forward at the time. 16-year-old had basically went straight for school to Bowness to play at night. And the boys kind of came up, went away from me, and the big centre half, the boys never near us, smashed me in the back of the head. And I was like, why have you done that? Just got on, he's like, I just stay there, son. I said, oh, this is junior football then.
Well, I went to obviously Anbank, and it was an eye opener for me, to be fair. No, so much that it was just getting into that adult mentality, because I was still a wee boy, and like just showering after games and that. I wasn't doing it, and I was fucking terrified. But similar story, I remember playing against, can't remember who it was, and boy punched me right in the side of the face. He's like, does your mum know you're at fit for the day, wee man? And just all that part. But I loved it. It toughened me up, because I was no new, but I was then. I was fucking like that. So it toughened me up, and I loved it. I loved my time at Anbank. I was there for I was about 16 to, I think I was just turning turned 18 when I went to Hurlford, but I loved it at Anbank. Really, really enjoyed it.
It's a shame actually that Bank. I suppose they're doing well in the amateur game down there now, but it's a shame they went the way they did. Hurlford's been one that you've obviously had a couple of spells at, and you even played with amateurs and stuff. How big a step up was that for you? Because obviously Bank were always a bit lower down the divisions,
Aye.
and Hurlford were for a spell up, down, and now they're back up again. How was that for you
Well,
making the step
when I
up
when I
level?
went to Hurlford, they were in the it was like Premier the first, it's like kind of as the now they were in the first at the time, and that division then was
Nah, it's mental to super
oh
first.
it was ridiculous. So it was see be fair to be honest with you, Paul, I think I know what I was like as a player. I was an asshole. I know I wasn't the nicest guy in the football pitch, so I probably had that, but I didn't really care. Do you know what I mean? I just went and done what I was doing at Ironbank because I went in and trial for a fortnight at United when I was a young boy at Ironbank as well, but I hadn't even developed yet. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? I looked about 12. So again, going to Hurlford to step up, uh, obviously getting me with better players and that, it definitely developed me and helped me. But again, it was Hurlford's a club that I think I've had three stints with Hurlford and I played. There was two amateur teams at one point. I've played with both amateur teams as well. So Hurlford, I've had a lot of good times, a lot of good memories at Hurlford. John Crawford took me to Hurlford the first time run, and John was brilliant. But it was still, I can't think now. That's 20 years ago.
No, it's no yesterday.
So it was just a matter of just me trying to be me. But my eyes were opened up to the real world, if you know what I mean, like
Aye.
adult life and adult football, and it was different. It's definitely different.
I think it's a good thing for you to experience. Like when it was Dak, obviously, doing the podcast, something we were always big on was the 20s coming into the level and the difference it's made, I think, to particularly smaller teams who can't financially compete with the Premier League sides. And they're not having to continuously, well, they still do it, but they don't need to fight as much to get players when they've got a 20 squad. You know, even if they're not great, your team's not going to fold or anything like that. That maybe takes away from like the experience that we had,
Aye, exactly.
where like I'm talking about being 16 and started playing with the reserves and then went junior at 18 and you were obviously younger as well. It takes away from that experience and knowing that you have to toughen up and play with men, whereas maybe months before you were playing
Aye.
with young boys.
I think at that age, you know, when we were playing, I can't believe I'm saying back when we were playing as if,
I know,
but
that's how old they are.
you either it was sink or swim.
Mhm.
I felt you went into that environment, you took to it or you never. Uh, and luckily enough, I took to it, and the boys took to me as well. They really looked after me at Anbank and Hurlford as a young boy, and they were great guys. You look back now, you wouldn't get away with half the stuff you got away with now.
Oh, aye.
Back then, sorry. So, there's too much. I think like at my mum and dad when I went 15, 16, went junior. Like you're going into a man's changing room. Whatever happens in there, that's you go on with it. Ryan, that's no. I don't think you get that now. I think it would
I
be.
agree. I remember this is going to be showing age again. Do you remember like 20 odd year ago when people started getting like the red tips in their hair and all that?
Aye,
So I
aye,
remember when I had hair, I was like used to spike up and I wanted to get red tips and I wanted like say a pair of white boots or something. And my old man was like, no, you can't get that. You're in with the reserves. Like if the first team manager doesn't like that, you'll not be playing, so you're not
aye.
getting it. Whereas maybe rightly or wrongly now, it's very different. It's boys, I feel again, it's maybe just a perspective things change where younger players, and you'll see it yourself, think that they can behave a certain way where it wouldn't have been accepted
Just think they're
20, 25 years ago.
so confident now.
Mm,
So confident, like that. Me and my brother Paul, this conversation, he was telling me like about at Birmingham and when he went to Birmingham, when he broke into the Celtic first team, he says, Ryan, like, it was intimidating.
hmm
He goes, you're going up into that first team changing room and until you get your own area in that changing room, he goes, you're going up and you're going to and you don't say nothing, you were
mm.
terrified. So by the time he was just leaving Birmingham, the young boys are walking in with the beats and that on and all right, how he's doing, and straight into a change room, and you're going where there's no. Maybe I'm old school, but I think there should be that fear factor.
Aye.
there should be that intimidation where these guys are playing at this level because they've had to do it. Now it's completely different.
Well, I remember stuff like you had your jobs today when you were in full time, like mine.
See, I
It's
wasn't
like,
good enough back then to put in all
well,
that.
my job was to hoover the carpet on the Bolton Flare. See at Broadwood.
Aye.
When you go in, I had to hoover the carpet the whole length of the stadium, basically at the front. That was my job. And it's like my brother was in at St Mirren, and he'd tell me, to be fair, their team were wild at 19s. They had a right good team, but the jobs they would tell you they'd have to do and the things that used to happen
Aye.
were borderline criminal, but you
Aye.
just accepted it. Maybe it is better that's not that way, but
I
I
don't
I
know. I
think
think that's missing. I
mm,
do. I think that's missing. I think players now are. I think they're finding it's too easy now.
mhm,
For me, I think it's too easy. I think you need that. As I said, I think you need that fear factor. It's not so much fear, the respect. I think the
mhm.
respect's in the game, big time.
Yeah. Do you know what something I found when I started coaching? And like I was chocolate, I was always injured, but I always tried to play through it. Probably why I had to chuck it so early. But see if you got a niggle, you'd be like, you want to tell the manager or whatever, and you just try and get through it. See now, I feel like boys they get niggles, they'd be like, I'm going to take 2 weeks off, and you
Aye.
kind of like, well, we need you. Like
Aye.
you're not that badly
No,
hurt,
but
just
no.
get on with it.
I don't think I ever. I can't remember the last time I ever played a game of football and I never had someone
Aye,
sore.
I
There
know.
was always something. There was a bit, as you say, and the likes of you look at guys now. It's even faltering out of level. You look at guys like wee Taz and that, and big Ross
Hmm.
Robertson and Pettigrews and guys like that are still playing because they just got on with it.
Hmm.
They always have. And I was lucky enough I never really had any injuries. It was more so Chinese insider that caught with me in the end up. But it was these guys are they keep going. They just keep going. And like a Hendo and that he's been really lucky to have the bunch of boys that have. It's been a good core to him for a long time. Even at Talbot when Tucker had Opie and Leo and
I know.
boys like that, Spenny, all that, they were professionals. They just got on with it.
Aye, I think you probably get our dad's generation would say that about our generation and so
Nah.
on and so forth. But I know what you mean. It's probably what it is. You've had a wee stint senior with Ayr United and Stranraer. What was it like for you that time you mentioned the trial at Ayr United and stuff? How did all that come about?
Well, it was the manager and bank at the time, Hughie Flynn, his name was, got me in there, and I was in for a fortnight, and nothing really materialised. I went to Hurlford, and I played my first season at Hurlford, and then kind of halfway through my second, there was talk. My first season at Hurlford, I played with Big Chrissy Robertson.
Hmm.
He went there at the end of that season, and me and Rob always kept in contact. And I remember him saying to me, it was about halfway through the other season, he goes, I think there's talk of like Robert Connor and Rob Riley and whatever, look at you at Hurlford. I'm all right. But again, I never took any notice of it. And then it obviously gathered and gathered, and eventually I signed a pre-contract for Ayr. I went in there for a season. I went in, to be honest with you, I'd done a pre-season with my brother Paul before I went into pre-season, so I went in flying. I hit the ground running. First 2 3 months, I was flying, and then I didn't have a clue how to play. I thought I knew how to play football, but I didn't. I did not have a clue how to play football. I played wide at the time, and it was a big learning curve for me. And then I missed two penalties in one game against Dunfermline, and it just nosedived for then. I never really had. At that time, it was, as I said, it was sink or swim. Now you probably got looked after a wee bit better.
Hmm.
I'm not saying he'll never. It was just a bad dip in form, and I never took it well, and head was up my arse. But Robert Connor was probably the first guy that really coached me. Really, what silly things I used to just think he stood when I was wide. I just stood with Chalmers. It was, give me it wide and I'll do it. I didn't have a clue, Paul, honestly. And I remember my first training session. I'm going, Jesus Christ. But he was brilliant for me. But then he get the sack, and Brian Reid took over into him, and then the guy Watt came in, and he brought in somebody that played my position, and then
It's done.
and then when I went to Stranraer, I don't know what happened to Stranraer. I just couldn't get in the team. I couldn't play. Anytime I was getting a wee chance, I never had a good time at Stranraer at all, and that was nothing to do with the club, because the club was brilliant. It was just me. I was poor. I was poor doing that. I left and ran. I was chucking it. That was me. I was going to chuck it, and I was sitting in my local pub one Saturday morning. I was out on the Friday night because obviously I never had any football on the Saturday. I was in my head. That was me. All I wanted to be was a football player,
Mm-hmm.
and to be honest with you, I just wasn't good enough. And I was in the pub. I think a couple of pints, and the local amateur team, Fenwick, asked me if I'd go and help them out that day. So I went and played with Fenwick, and just enjoyed playing football. There was no pressure. There was nothing.
Aye.
It was horrible Thistle manager at the time. Wee Pelly drank in the same pub as me. Oh, if you're there, come to us. We're in the top league. Blah blah blah. And I went to Hurlford, and I went back senior for there to Alloa for about 4 or 5 months. And again, I just going from amateur back to senior. I was miles off it, miles off it.
So obviously you've played the top end of juniors for years and stuff. How big a gap do you think at that time, maybe even now, the difference between like what division were Alloa in at that time? Were they the second
The
division?
second division,
Second
second guy.
division. So what kind of difference do you think there was in terms of a gap between the second division and kind of the juniors at that point?
That point that the likes of Talbot and Potts, I don't think there was much. That Alloa team eventually at Hartley built there was very good. When you get Stevie Main loan that for
Mm-hmm.
St John's, the boy, the two McCaws, that, but they were decent. But I don't want to be disrespectful to the other teams, but I think then your Talbot were strong
Aye, they
and
were
that type
excellent.
of football and the way the Talbot played at the time would have suited League Two down to a T.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? They would have been fine in that, and there were other teams in there as well. So at that point, no, I don't think there would have been much of a difference. But I do think the gaps get bigger now.
Think so?
I do, to a certain extent, to a certain extent. You obviously have your one or two, and then you're obviously your one-off games and that. I get that, but prolonging it at a season now, I think, for talking sake, the money it's going to put, there's no denying it. The money it's going to put at level now that's astronomical. I
Mm-hmm.
think you take the top league in Scotland, Championship, League One. We're probably the fourth,
Mm-hmm. Aye. Well,
and
you look at if numbers are to be believed with the borough sometimes. I mean, I think you'd be hard pressed to get some Premier League teams paying what boys are
let's
rumoured
remember
to be
that.
getting paid.
It's always rumours, I know that, but I think could you put a price on Willie Lyles and Poppies and
Mm.
Graham Wilsons and all that back then when they were up? You couldn't afford the boys at this level now.
Well, I don't mean any disrespect to Jordan Moore because like at the weekend there I was doing watching the Borough and Pollock and I thought Jordan was one of the big differences for the Borough when he came on. But Jordan's gone and it's no fault his own. He's gone for 20 grand for coming up to Darvel or whatever it is. I know what you're saying. For me, G Wilson's one of the best players I played with at this
Mm.
level. And it's like how much are they going for if you're talking about that kind of money that's getting thrown about now
Aye.
that wasn't then?
You look at even the likes of see in the last 15 years, if you were to pick a West of Scotland junior team, we Taz would be in every single one of them. And he's been loyal at Hurlford, he's been loyal at Hendo, and but again, Taz 10 years ago, could you get you couldn't afford a guy like that. But even but like I keep going back to Hurlford ones because they're the ones obviously I played with, but even like a Pettigrew, everybody when I took the Glens job, they were talking Petty's your cat. Petty's about the place is unbelievable. You've got guys like Petty that played at the top level, knows the game. Popey's, Lyles, I keep going on about them, Spenny's, lads that have won Scottish after Scottish, league after league. And there's guys now going for money that haven't won any, are demanding money that haven't
Aye.
won any.
I think that's that phrase you used there, that word you used, demanding, is quite fitting because I was fortunate enough, like I've mentioned it on here before, I had like 4 or 6 weeks in it at Talbot when they were, in my opinion, arguably the best they ever were under Tucker. And I couldn't handle the intensity and the level. It was just, that wasn't, I just couldn't do it at that time. As I got older, I probably mentally could have took it, but I wasn't good enough to do it. But I remember thinking that as well, going into their dressing room, and it was just, I was young, but it was like proper men and
Aye.
everything, even training. I've said it on here before, and I actually spoke to Tucker about it. When we played them with Craigmark in the cup last season, I remember me and my mate Gary Phillips, both of us went for a tackle. I've won the ball, but none of us went through it. And Tucker started screaming at me, smash him if you need to. And I was like, well, I've won the ball, it's training, and I don't really
Aye.
need to. And now I get it. I
Yeah.
understand what he was actually saying to me. He wasn't actually telling me to go and do him, but I understand what
Aye.
he's saying
Don't
to
do
me
our
now. And
best.
that's the mentality where I think a lot of people don't have that now.
Listen, you look at Talbot. They're, they're the pinnacle level, right? And they always probably will be. I don't think they'll ever surpass their achievements. But would you say Talbot always the best team?
No,
I don't
no.
think they did, but they'd a group of boys that would have killed for each other,
Mhm.
and they were fit, they were organised on off the ball, and they just understood how to play the level. And there's no denying that the proof's in the pudding with Talbot. There'll always be the pinnacle, and I know I'm at Glenafton now, and it's a kind of rivalry, and there's coming up now, and I know all the money's going into the game, but I don't think they'll ever surpass what Tucker's achieved at Talbot. It's incredible.
Nah, I think he definitely, and I mean, again, for experience and speaking to a lot of people on this and boys that through this I've got to know better. Tucker's no a master tactician. I mean, that's
No,
not what he is. It's not how his training is. Like for me, you mentioned getting the coaching at Ayr, and it was the first time you proper coaching. For me, Stevie Farrell, when I was at Cumnock, was the first manager I ever had that I felt like really improved my game.
mm,
And because sometimes he was harsh on me because my attitude was poor, but he knew how to deal with me, and I thought he improved my game. Tucker is the type that probably does that, where he can work with people and improve them, but he's not going out and buying players to try and improve their touch or their technique or anything. He just brings players in, has a squad and has a mentality that he wants, and then he lets them go and play.
I probably had managers probably that were trying to improve me in the past, but I had a I knew better attitude.
Mhm.
Young boy, I thought I know better than everybody, and that's what I'm trying to still into boys that gone after and all. You don't realise how much you miss it till you're not playing, and I know that's an old cliche and everybody says it, but you really don't. I'm still at the age where I'm looking, going, wish I'd kept myself fit. I wish I'd kept taking over. I wish because it wasn't the injuries or anything that stopped me playing. So I've not got that excuse. It was just I never kept myself fit. COVID probably hit at the wrong time for me and all, where it was easier to jog around to Spa and get 8 cans of cider and sit in the hot tub and go a run. And but I was at an age where I had to keep fit. If I didn't, I was going to balloon. I'm saying I was going to balloon. I ballooned because of myself. But I keep telling the young boys, you don't realise anything can happen. Anything can happen. You could have a good game against it. You never ever know who's watching. And I just feel now there's too much. I sound like an old man here, man, but there's
We are
too
more
much
the
that
football world.
Instagrams and Snapchats and all that shit that I can't be bothered with. Uh,
See, you said there it's easier to go into the spa.
no,
I was very much when I think about because I think about things like that when you talk about it when I was doing my coaching. I was very fit and I made sure I was fit because I wasn't really willing to work on the other stuff that better players had. So my fitness got me to a level where I probably played higher than I should have at times. But I was willing to go and do it, but I wasn't willing to do other things. And you're saying it's easier. I think that that's something that's important that you realise as you get older, where I suppose in life it's the same. It's easier today, the easier thing, where
see what
but
see what
you
and
get the poorer
that Paul.
results.
See what I mean? That I was as fit as a fiddle. I was, and I was fit. I was as fit as anybody. But the older I got, my habits were catching up with me. Especially I probably and I had a lot of success at Hurlford amateur, Thistle, the amateurs, and really enjoyed my time. But it was probably the worst decision I made football wise. I should have never went there. I had chances to go to other club stage senior or go to the higher level at junior at that point, and I never. And I went to Hurlford Thistle, and it was it. And I look back now and I think, why? But I never.
Was it all the money they were giving you?
Oh, no, it was never.
I played against
Uh,
that team when I went back amateur, so I know what it was like.
And I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have went back and played at that. And no disrespect, because that level when I first went amateur in Ayrshire, there was 5 or 6 teams could have won that top league. And it's sad to see now that the amateur game's dying a death. But
Why do you say that you shouldn't have went back?
Because I probably was good enough still to play top level junior at that point. But it was, as I say, go back to it, it was an easier decision to go to Hurlford. And listen, the club were brilliant, mate, and we won a lot of trophies and all that kind of stuff. And we had a great side, and we were close, we were tight knit. But I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have went back. And if you probably speak to like some Michael Mull and that and all, he'd probably say the same now. He could have played at a higher level, stayed at a higher level, but it was just easier for us at the time.
Suppose something I wanted to speak to you about, because obviously you won the Scottish with the amateurs.
Aye.
Who was that against?
We beat Coval Park at Livingston in 2012, I think it was. We beat them. We beat them 2-0 at Livy, aye. So that was probably that amateur team, that Hurlford team we brought there was probably one of the best amateur teams that went about. We were a gang, to be fair, we were, but we'd quality in the team. Played pre-season games against junior teams, and we were getting 3 and 4 half junior teams, and with 5 or 6 boys that should have never been playing at that level. But that's where we were at, and it was a successful time for Hurlford. But I will always say that I always say to the young boys now, always play at the highest level you possibly can for as long as you can, and I never done it. I ended up having to work really hard to get back to try and play it, and Hendo took a chance on me when I really dropped down. I ended up at one thing amateurs as a manager for about 6 months where guys Sturdy was brilliant, loved Sturdy to bits. And I ended up going to the young Hurlford team, and Hendo took a chance on me. They just got to the quarters or semis of the Scottish. I met him in the Thistle, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I told him, he's like, "Right, well, you want to come in here, you need to get yourself fit." And Hendo was exactly what I needed at the time. Just was on me. If you want to be they end up winning the semi-final, you've got yourself like 8 or 9 weeks to get yourself fit. So I started that season as a manager of Glenafton amateurs on the second division in Ayrshire amateurs, and I come on in the Scottish Cup Junior Cup final that year.
See the final, was that the one you lost 3-2 to the Talbot?
Well, 2-1 up when
I remember
2-1 up they brought me on.
Aye. I remember watching that. It was the 91st and 93rd minutes they scored.
I think we'd a bye kit in 3 minutes injury time was put on the board, and we were 2-1 up. And then
I remember watching that. How did that feel? What was that like in the dressing room after that game?
Oh, it was horrible, and it was sore to take. It was. I was probably more so. I was obviously gutted, not again, but I was more so the fact I really enjoyed the occasion, like, because I was weighing up the fact that where I was at the start of that season to where I was now, and I know we get beaten, but it was a horror show, man, and end up 3 minutes. And by the way, we were better than Talbot for 90 minutes and get beat 3-2.
I know Hendo a wee bit, and I know that he's a bit old school as well at times. Did he say anything to you? Did he go mental in the dressing room, or was it one of the ones where you're all hurting so much that it was just silence?
There was a lot going on after us, and there was a few having a go at each other and things like that. And then I remember Ross Fisher. He kind of he had a bottle of Buckfast in his bag or something, and it all calmed down. Everybody's sitting, and Mark Roberts came in and said something, and everybody's kind of laughing, and then no laughing, but just kind of. And then Ross Fisher just brought, if we can't beat them, we'll fucking join them. And he cracked on a bottle of Buckfast, and it kind of turn the tension out the air a wee bit, because I think it was going to get, it could have got nasty. But we were back to Thistle, and I'm saying we enjoyed our night. We didn't enjoy our night, but at the end of the day, you got to the Scottish Cup final, and I know the way we get beaten, whatever. And I don't think if you ask Ken, I don't think Kendall's ever watched it back.
Nah.
But I was gutted myself for the boys that had done it all year. I was a late show to that, and from where I was at that for Hendo to take the chance on me, I'll always appreciate that. But it's more so like, see, as I spoke about wee Taz and that probably they deserved it. Wee Taz was different class on the day, and Ross Robertson superb, and they probably deserved it. But it wasn't to be. Talbot being Talbot, done what they done.
It's like I said, I remember watching that, and it was one of the ones when they got it two each. I remember thinking they're going to score again. Like, you
We
could
took
just
centre.
feel it.
We took centre. I think it was Big Jenks. It went back to Jenks, and we put it in the corner. And they kept it in, played a couple of passes on line, won a corner. And I'm thinking at the time, why did we not just keep the ball? And
Mm.
I know that it was Big Jenks' fault because it wasn't, but we just because then it was straight to penalties.
Aye.
And then anything could happen at that point, but just one of the ones that I don't think you'll ever see that again.
No, I think that I can only imagine how painful that must have been. You've played with Girvan, Meda, Ardrossan, coming up after that, and then another spell at Hurlford. How was the rest of the remainder of your junior career? So obviously you bounced about a wee bit. Is there
Aye.
any reason for that, or was it just maybe time to move on for certain teams?
Well, when I left Hurlford amateurs, I went to Girvan. Boy I knew at the time took the Girvan job, and I went down there. And he didn't last long. We brought in somebody else, and I didn't make me. We clashed straight away, and they sold me to Meda. So I could have went to Hurlford at that time as well with Hendo, and I went to Meda instead, and we ended up getting to the semis of the Scottish that year. And Hurlford beat us, and then I think Hurlford beat the Glens in the final. Uh, Time at the Meda was decent under Stevie Rankin and Murday, but again it was that was me. I think it was only me and maybe Sparky with the Ayrshire boys there at the time. That was when it was a big kind of
Aye.
Glasgow contingent at Meda. Trained in Glasgow, probably the closest team I'd signed to, and I ended up training the first away. Uh, and then I left Meadow and went to the Winton, and that's when I started probably I'd say maturing. Uh,
Funny you say that, right? I'm going to interrupt you because that was my first experience ever meeting you, and you'll not remember it, right? Because I don't know why, but I remember somebody, the manager mentioning you before the game in our dressing room, basically saying you'd have been a threat to us, and me and you nearly started fighting on the halfway line. Basically, I think one is caught the other one, and we've just went head
uh,
to head and started arguing with each other. So as you've matured, you're standing at the side fighting with me.
aye, who won?
I can't remember. I don't know.
Not the fight I'm talking
Ah, that named it. It was we both lost.
uh, no, my first season it went in Chris Strain, dad, senior, took me in and made me captain. And I felt when I played, I always played on the edge. I had to be. That was how I get the best out of myself. And I made, I made every opponent I played against personal. Like I done what I had to do to get the better out of whoever I was playing against, whether it was at any level. I made it personal. Sometimes went too far. I
And
just wanted to win.
what way do you mean you made it personal? What were you thinking to make
Anything,
it personal?
I would think anything in my head to just to rile myself up to think anything. If I couldn't get past you because you were quicker than me, I would try and get inside your head. I would and I would times I'd go too far. But I just wanted to win. I needed to get an advantage on whoever I was playing against, whatever way I could. I'm not saying it's right. But I'm not saying it's wrong.
Mhm.
That was the way I went about it. At times I was. I know what I was as a player. I know what I was like, and I know a lot of people don't like me because of it. But I never meant it in a bad way or anything. I just wanted to for 90 minutes. I fucking hated you, and that was that was how I was. And I think I wish some of my players had that about them now, especially some of the young ones that have got a wee bit about them. They've got talent. But mentally, I still think there's a weakness. And I don't think that's just my young. I think that's throughout the
Yeah.
game now. I am maybe went too far at times, but that was just I had to get the best of myself. I had to rile myself up, and I done it whatever way I had to.
No, that's fair enough. If it works for you, because you look at like Scott Brown,
Aye,
you see Scott Brown, you see like his ex teammates talk about how much of a joker and how funny he was, but then you see him in the tunnel for Celtic or Scotland or whatever it was, and he just looked like he would stab you. You know what I mean?
aye.
That's just the way it was. I suppose you just need to find that.
Well, I remember Chris Strain pulling me in and saying, "Right, I'm going to make you captain. You need to grow up." I need you to lead for me. And we won the league that year. It was the year Sudisha we won it. Funnily enough, his boy was just taking the winning job, and it was between us and them. And we picked him and won the league that year. And it was probably then I thought, we've won some. I need to mature quicker. I need to grow up. But I've now got responsibility. People are looking up to me. There was young boys in the team, and I did. I took it on a wee bit, and I was a joker and a prankster and loved carrying on, and probably done it at the wrong times as well. But when it came to work, I would work. I'd worked hard. I always worked hard. But then Chris left. Sandy McLean came in. He kept me captain. And I loved working under Sandy as well. Sandy was brilliant. Sandy was another one that I thought was maybe coaching a wee bit higher than the level he was at. I loved my time under Sandy too, and then I left under Sandy a wee. I never had a bad injury or anything that kept me, but I had a niggle that I just couldn't get rid of. I was getting patched up leading up to games just to play on a Saturday, and that's when I went to Unthank. But my time at the Winton, I loved the club. I loved everybody at the club. They probably gave me 2 or 3 years in my best that I enjoyed football wise. Because at the time I was after the Meda again, I got to the stage where I'm going, that's anymore. And Chris Strain phoned me, come down and speak to us, and they got the fire burning in my belly again for the game.
See, you said he's made you captain. What type of captain were you, and did you feel like being captain? Did you take it? So, do you take it as like quite an honour and something that you wanted to do, or was it just like, oh, I'm captain and that's it?
And you get different types of captains, don't you? I felt as if I tried to lead on the pitch with performances, and at the Winton, I get player of the year, players player of the year, I get top goal scorer that year, and I felt when the year we won the league, I did lead by example on the pitch. Probably half it I could have led by a better example, because I was single at the time. I was still going out on Saturday nights, and that was like old school. That was my old school for the stuff I'd learned for Anbank. That where you trained on a Tuesday, a Thursday, a Saturday, played your game, you went pub and a few pints with the boys, and that's what I still done when I was Winton. Where there's probably younger boys in the team that I should have been saying, and it's sorry to say now, but then that was what you done. Everybody done that. But Fit was moved on a lot for then. But as a captain wise, I probably upset a couple of my own players the way I went on and all. Because I just wanted to win. I didn't know. I didn't care how I done. I just wanted to win, and I maybe went over the top at times. But I think that season when we won the league, I tried to lead by example in the pitch.
What do you look for the 3 teams you've managed now at Glenafton? What do you look for your captain? Is it Petty that's your captain?
Petty's the captain. Petty. Last year when I went in, there was leaders within the group. Petty was captain. I played with Petty United. I knew Petty. I leaned on him a bit. This year I think now with the experience we've got in the change room with him and Ollie and Shirky and that, I can let them manage the change room. I trust Petty to do that. Petty's been brilliant. There's any issues, I go to Petty and he goes to manage the change room. Obviously there's times I'll need to step in myself, but Petty never misses training. He's another one, Gaffer, a calf type. He popped his calf against Cumnock, and that's the first time since I've been there. Petty's missed anything. Still comes to training, he's still there, outside watching, whatever. So he leads that way. He leads and just shows that 37, he's as fit as anyone, never missed a pre-season session, never missed a run. If anything, he was up the front and it just led by example. And the younger ones are looking and saying, he's 37, he's played at the level, and he's doing it. It's good enough for him, it's good enough for us.
Exactly.
So Petty's been brilliant. He's been brilliant.
Moving on to your management, obviously Craigmark, you've went in there, 2021 you've went in there. How did that come about that you've ended up getting that job?
Well, it started with, when we spoke about earlier about COVID kicking in, I was playing with Cumnock at the time. Paul Byrne signed me for Cumnock. Burner got a sack and Tony McAnally came in. And I had it off with Tony. Me and Tony got on really well. I speak to Tony all the time. I lean on Tony a bit. Tony's won everything at a level as well. And I know people might think what they want of Tony. He's been brilliant for me. Absolutely brilliant for me. And as a manager, when I was at the time at Cumnock, I was getting to the stage where I was getting to the end, and it helped me put Jamie Collin up front of me, who was legs for me, and Tony was different class, and then COVID kicked in, and remember they were all deciding they weren't going to play.
Aye.
But Craigmark were going to play, so Noddy was in at Craigmark at the time. He says, "Why don't you come to us on loan and keep playing now?" So I went to Tony, and Tony's like, "That's fine." I said, "Because Gaffer, if I don't keep playing, I'm going to be small, man." So I went and I kept playing at Craigmark, and Noddy started saying, "Why don't you take the strikers away and do a wee draw and things like that?" And it just got a wee bit of a buzzy taking a wee bit of a session. It wasn't much. And then this season, Noddy stepped away, and Dougie Boyle, Ali Boyle, who went to Talbot.
Mm-hmm.
Dougie was Ali's dad, was like kind of doing everything at Craigmark at the time. And I remember him phoning me saying, "Listen, we're going to offer. Would you take the Craigmark job on?" I'm like, didn't see it coming. He said there was some. He remembers up at Bells Hill, boy David Cunningham come off the pitch, had an argument with Noddy. He's like, "Fucking release me! I want away again." And they had a big argument inside the pitch. They jumped their motors and I'm like, "Don't do it in the night. Just leave it." I says, "Let it cool down." And he says, "I just at that point I thought you'd be good at this, blah blah." So I says, "I'll need to think about it." And I just thought, I knew what I was like as a player. I wasn't exactly the most fucking likeable guy. Where else am I going to get an opportunity?
Mm.
And I thought, and I never took into consideration any. It was just literally, this is a chance to manage. So I went to Tony, and Tony's like, you can't go and manage them, Ryan. You're pissing into the wind going down there. It's location, budget, and everything. I says, I want to get a chance. I says, if I don't, then. And that probably didn't help either, the fact that if I'd stayed at Cumnock, I could have probably kept playing because Tony did go blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I went and I absolutely loved it. Loved it. I loved the club. I always loved the club that gave me my chance. But you know yourself being in there, Paul, that it's not an easy gig.
No.
And I brought in Andy Bell with me, who was tremendous. Andy's in at Troon now, and Andy was different class, and we really could have turned things around a bit. We flipped it in its head there, to be honest with you. It was we kept a core of the boys that were there. We added 3 or 4, and we found a system that suited the boys, and it worked. And we just missed out in playoffs with a couple of big scalps in the cup, and it was really, really enjoyable. I never at one time felt any pressure. It was just good to have a club that they liked me, I liked them, and I don't know, maybe it was just I could relate to everybody down there because I know how tough it is. I've
Aye.
brought up the scheme, and I could relate to how they live their lives and the way they went about things, and the club was everything to Tilmerton, and I could just relate to that. And I never took a penny, never once. Me and it, we never took a penny for the club, and because you couldn't, you probably knew that yourself. You couldn't. It was if you took money out of the club, it was money you could get a player. But it was tough. It was it wasn't easy in location. But the first 2 years were brilliant. Were really, really good, and I really enjoyed it. And I'll always be grateful to Dougie, and then Lee come in when Dougie went to Talbot with Ali, and Lee was brilliant as well. Deborah, couldn't thank her enough. And one of the nicest women I've ever met in my life. John and Leslie, just an unbelievable bunch. But
Aye. I think we've
there's a
obviously
kind of glass ceiling in there, isn't there?
aye. We've spoken about this obviously because we've both been there in a coaching capacity, and I think for me, like we always praised how well you were doing on the podcast when we do the roundup and stuff, but I have an understanding of, but a better understanding than a lot of people will know the fact that what you did down there was incredible because it's so difficult. I mean, the club's brilliant. The like you're saying, particularly for me, I dealt with Lee and Ogie and that a lot, and they couldn't see if they could date for you, you would get
Yeah,
it, and they were brilliant. But there just wasn't much they could give you, and we've spoken about it. It's like I said it on the roundup at the weekend. I just knew that what was needed, I couldn't help with to get them. You see it now, they're sitting bottom of the league, lost
yeah,
29 goals in 5 games, and it's horrible to watch. The managers came in after myself and Nixon were there, lasted, I don't know, 2 weeks, and then went away. There was only 2 players left. Ian Patterson's in there now, and he's managed to put a squad together, which is good. So the club's not going to fold or anything. But I think it's incredibly hard. And how did you? This is more a personal thing for me, and not really for listeners. But how did you manage to get so many bodies in to just continue to keep it competitive at the top end of the league?
I don't know if me being in loan helped.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you, I think maybe being in loan as a player first. There was a couple of boys that when I was in there in loan, I was an experienced player. I was an old crabbit man probably at that point playing, and I hounded a couple of boys. Big guy Fraser Smith. I hounded him when I played. What the fuck are you doing? But and when I went, and Fraz was decent. And I remember when I got offered the job and I went down to the Grange Academy, they were training there. I was going to speak to who wanted to stay, and I thought this could go one way or another. They could have looked at me in there as a player and thought, well, he's still got the fire in the belly, still went. Or it could, and I thought when I pull Fraz is going to go at me. Get like, Fraz like, no, definitely like staying. And probably about 10 of them bought into it straight away. And then incredible, some of the boys were travelling, 3 of them travelling for Bells Hill, 2 for Paisley. The sacrifice these boys were making to come for very little money. But it helped Paul that we were probably doing better than any Craigmark team had done in a long, long time. We were winning games. We were, because me and Andy spoke about it at the time, because we couldn't compete with MD financially and that, we had to try and do it different. We had to try and maybe make training a wee bit different, coaching a wee bit different. Something that probably hadn't been used to. And we've done that, and the boys bought into it, and the boys were brilliant. But that's got its other side to it, where when you start doing well, other teams start noticing.
Yeah.
And then your players like Lee Conley was different class. Jordan Cherry was brilliant for us. There were loads of them brilliant. Meda come in for the 2 of them, but the first time Meda come in for the 2 of them, they went and spoke to Meda, and then 2 of them, no, we want to stay. And that's when I'm thinking to Andy, listen, I started getting above my station a wee bit. I'm thinking we could do something here. But started getting excited, and first manager's job, thinking, fucking, we'll be Premier League in 3 years, and way beyond. But what a club to learn it. You were allowed to make mistakes. You were allowed to. Where now for the first time, probably in my managerial career, I'm feeling pressure.
Mm-hmm.
That again is the similarity to Craigmark and Glenafton's. It's very similar, as in small village. The club means everything to them. I keep telling the players, like the Glenafton, the minimum this club will expect for you is hard work. I says these guys were minors, and the telly they've got in their wall, the couch that they sit their asses on, they've worked their nuts off for this stuff. So the minimum they expect when they come and watch you is he's worked your nuts off. That's the minimum. I know it's the minimum for any team, but your Talbots and that, and Craigmarks, these wee minor villages, these clubs mean that they're the heartbeat of the community, man. It's mental. It's mental that we drive through Auchinleck to go to the fit when there's folk want about Auchinleck Tap Zone.
It's crazy, isn't it? I know.
Folk want about Glenafton Tap Zone, coming up Tap Zone, and you're going, this is the life.
I know.
And when you're a player, you go, you play, you got the road. A manager, the pressure I'm feeling now, I've never felt. I never felt as a player, and I never felt at Craigmark. Mistakes now are going to, I'll lose my job because of it. So, but it's a pressure I love.
See, we were talking about, obviously, you've mentioned how your attitude was at times. See, when you've went into management, did it change your mindset a bit where you've thought, do you know, I probably would have struggled with dealing with a player like me? Or do you think my mindset wasn't good enough? Now that you're seeing it, a big picture, you're thinking about everybody in the club, and sometimes you're dropping boys, and like, you know, it's a horrible conversation to have. And players, as a player, you might take it personally, but you're actually like, I really don't want to drop you, but you just happen to be the one that's dropped. Do you feel that once you were into management, you started, the penny might have dropped at certain things, going, I should have done this better, I should have done that better?
Aye, but see the tough decisions you've got to make as a manager. See, sometimes the way I was as a player, I think that's helped me a wee bit. Because there's times where, in the past, where you've had to drop boys, you're dropping them for, every player you're dropping for a different reason. Sometimes it might be for just back for injuries. sometimes it might just be their attitude. You're thinking, you know what, you need a rock up your ass. You don't mind having the conversation. I don't find the conversations hard, right? Dan Muller, my assistant now at Glenafton, who's different class, he struggles with that side of it, where I know it's no personal. So I'm just as brutally honest as I can be with the player, because that's what I don't want it as a player.
Yeah.
You're not playing, like, we Alex Waters will tell you, we played, how did we play? I can't remember, towards the end of the season last year, and we Alex had come into the team, was doing well, and Liam was in fire for us at the time at Glens, and I thought, we need to put crosses in the box. There was nobody better at the club than Alex, delivery-wise, he was brilliant. But Liam phoned in the morning of the game, no well, and I started him off. And I pulled Alex and says, by the way, if Liam was here, you were starting. I said, but now I've changed it because I think Sam links up better than you, can bounce half more off, there's a better understanding. So that's why you're not playing. He didn't like it. I'm not saying he probably respected it. And I think Alex went on and scored that game and done well when he come on, but that's just the wee things that you're changing at the last minute, you need to make a decision. It might have been the wrong decision, but that day, I can't remember what game it was. Doesn't matter anyway, I had to make a decision that morning, and that was the reason Alex never played. It wasn't down to his attitude of training and that, because he'd been doing well. It was just I felt the link up between the striker and Sam would have been better than it was with what Liam and Alex were having. It's no easy. It's horrible conversations, and they're no nice. But and I remember getting dropped out of the squad with Hurlford, with Hendo, and I fucking lost it. Like, me and Hendo fell out, and that was probably my end at Hurlford, because I flipped and took it the wrong way and took it personally. But that was how I was that's how I was as a person. I take it personally, to be fair.
It's funny now though that you've learned that it isn't personal. It's what the team or the manager thinks the team needs. You've missed it twice on promotion with Craigmark, and like I said, particularly the second year where he's missed it by 2 points, where Ashfield, Mabel, Renfrew, it's good sides who, I mean, you look at Ashfield, nearly got themselves promoted again. Renfrew, good solid team. Mabel, another good solid team. Was that tough for you losing it so late on?
The first one was probably the first one we get beat. Whitlets, I think, pipped us that year. And a couple of things went against us that year. Teams getting games called off, and the pitch was fine, and because people wearing stag doos and that kind of stuff. But then the second year, I felt we had a right good pre-season, but when we were into that, the second year, what was it? Was it the first year was a conference, and the second year was a.
Aye, second year was just the.
So the first year, I think it was Arthurley, Shotts, and who was it went up that year in that conference? Was it Ashfield? I can't remember. Honestly, my memory's horrendous. Ashfield, anyway, they were probably that 2 year spell at Craigmark the best team we played. They were brilliant. Mick Oliver was, and that's why I know Mick will get it right at Darvel. That'll turn. I know he'll be getting hounded now, and I get that, but Mick will turn that. We played Craigmark with Craigmark. We played Mick's first game at Ashfield, up at Ashfield, and we beat them 3-2 or 4-3, 3-2. Connor scored a hat trick, and they were then they came down to Dunmellan and they battered us. They beat us 3-1, but they battered us down at Dunmellan. And sides were, he's got them well drilled. He'll be fine there. Anyway, aye, that year, the second one, we just get pipped. Aye, it was sore to take, but the first year with Whitlets, that was a tough one and all, because I felt and I know the league doesn't lie, and all that, but I felt we were one of the better sides. We'd probably deserved to go up that year. But the flip side is, I don't think the club were ready to go up.
Aye, I felt this year actually that when we managed to keep them up, that it sounds daft. It probably would have been better for the club to go down
I know what you
and
mean.
be a more competitive team in the third division, because as you can see, obviously at the start of this season, how difficult it is, and it's going to be very hard to turn that round, particularly in a league that I think is quite tight. But your time at Craigmark's come to an end. Then you've got Whitlets, which obviously that's how we knew each other before, but that's how we that time we started
Aye.
a bit better. So we were talking through it and stuff. you're there for 5, 6 weeks or something. What's obviously you moved on to Glenafton, but what was that spell like? Because you've lost 6 out of 7, one draw. What was that period like for you?
I just felt at the time at Craigmark, I
Glass
just felt as
ceiling.
if they were,
Aye.
it went as far as it could go, and it was starting to go the other way now. And
I know, mate. I know.
they were
I
sick
took
of
care after it. I know.
they were sick of listening to the same voice, and I felt it maybe just needed a change. So I went to Whitlets, and Blair at Whitlets and John Dalton, that they were brilliant. Honestly, the setup and everything there is different class. The timing of me going to Glenafton, I can't help. Right, that's something I can't help. Was it right? Was it wrong? Should I stayed at Craigmark and seen the season out, and then would have my chance at Glenafton come
Yeah,
along? I don't
exactly.
know. Right, so in hindsight, 5 6 weeks at Whitlets, was that a good decision for me to go there? Then leave? No, it wasn't. But at the time we went to Whitlets, they were struggling. They were struggling. They'd come off the back of it was Popey and that were in before us, and they were pretty much down when we went. There was a chance we could have stayed up, but there was so much damage I felt in the squad that, there was a lot needing done. That's just me. I just didn't feel we were fit enough. So for 5 weeks we were in there. You can ask any of the boys that were there at Whitlets. We pounded them, right? So we got them fit. We got them really fit because Mick McCann and I met Mick's like Caddy. What I've taken there, fitness wise, and results would have turned for us there. It was just a matter of getting them to a level of fitness and an understanding, and it would have turned. We just brought back Boydie and Louis Kerr, and with a game or two with them, and things were starting to turn a wee bit. I know the results weren't great, but we would have got there as in positive results that came, and it would have let us go into this season the same Mick as Mick's done. But Mick told he was very complimentary how fit we got the squad, and but I get a phone call one Sunday. I think it was a Sunday for Blair, and it just Jason Walker at the time and Andy Kerr. There was a few teams sniffing about them at Willits, and Blair phoned me and just says, "Listen, I've morning, how you doing?" I said, "Nobody." I says, "What's happening?" He goes, "You know what's happening?" I'm like, "Blair, I don't know what's happening. What are you talking about?" He's like, "I've had Glenafton on the phone." I'm like, "Right, okay. Who they want, Walker or Kerr?" Kind of hang I thought they were.
Mhm.
So I know they want you, and I went, "All right." And he just went, "I've gave them permission to speak to you." And I'm like, "Right, okay, I'll go and speak to them again." I wasn't taking any money for Whitlets, nothing like that. Went and met Tarzan and Stuart at the Glens, offered me a good deal. It was the top league. Looking at the big picture, I'm thinking, again, get into a club similar to where Whitlets were, there's a chance of staying up, but I think everybody at Glens dead and buried at that point. They had 9 points on the board, but I thought, if I can get in there and keep them up, it's going to do me the world of good for my own credit. But and I says, I'll go. And listen, it wasn't an easy decision, but I had to do what I felt was right for me at the time. And looking back now, it probably was. It probably was the right decision to go. The Whitlets, I know Whitlets will think it came for 5 weeks, and this must have been going on, and it wasn't. It wasn't because at the time Matt Roberts was in charge at the Glens, there was nothing. I hadn't had any conversations with him, did nothing like that. It was literally out the blue. It's a shock to me, trust me, because I went to Whitlets and I don't, as you said, drew one and
Yeah.
lost six. I thought, fucking hell, the Glens must like it done. So I went in there and just
First
kept
game,
going.
Cumnock. First game
Mm,
was Cumnock. Was it no Cumnock your first game?
no,
Was it no? My
first
mistake. That's my bad research.
first game was Largs in the West. We beat Largs in the West, and then we played Clyde Bank, and they beat us 3-2. And we competed really well in that game, and then we played Come Up.
Right.
So
What was that derby like? I played in it for Cumnock against Glenafton. I never found it quite the same as the Cumnock Talbot. But what's the that derby like for Glenafton perspective?
see, just before I go into that, I know. See, Whitlets, I wish Whitlets all the best, and I thank them for everything they've done for me. And Blair was brilliant, John was brilliant, and the right man, the job, and Mick and all that. So I really hope Whitlets go on and do really, which they will. They'll do really, really well. But just again, I made a decision that I felt was right for me. I So we went into The Cumnock game you're talking about there, sorry.
Yeah. What's that like for a Glenafton perspective? How big a game is it for their
Aye,
perspective?
I don't know. There seems to be, when Murdy was obviously in charge at Cumnock at the time when I was there, and I played under Murdy, but I don't know. There seems to be a wee needle between the two clubs. Maybe it's just location and that, which adds to it, which is good. We beat Cumnock 2-1 that day. But there's see, for me as a manager, you don't take any of that. You go in and you sort your team out and you do what you need to do on the day. But at that point, it was really hard to enjoy any win. It was like I'd never, for that 5 months or whatever it was, my missus will tell you the same. I was, and folk think this is mental, it's part-time football. I wasn't sleeping. I was like, I couldn't. And obviously, you were training next days and with conversations, and it was like, I was feeling the fucking pressure. I really, really was. And we went in with 9 points, and 33 kept us up. And that's what we got. We got 33. Was it pretty at times? No, it wasn't. It was horrible at times. But the boys at the time, Pates and Gaz Frasers and Moffs and guys like they were really, really good. Really good. For talking to you, like, we won our first game at home. The Glens' first win at home last year was Talbot in April.
Mental, isn't it?
And we stayed in the league. We were 3-0 down to Hurlford with 20 minutes to go. And looking back now, I think if we could beat that day, that was us. I think just mentally it would have shattered us. You come back, you win 4-3, then I think the following week we went to Beith and get beat 9-9.
That's
And
right.
I'm going, Jesus Christ, man, we get 2 or 3 good results in a row and then everything just seems to go to bring Shuggy Kerr back, and there was a lift again. And so we beat Pollock, we beat Cumnock twice, we beat Talbot, we got a point against Beith. We beat Pollock up there, probably the biggest doing I've had yet. I'm saying even the 9-0 against Pollock gave us a doing that day. We beat them 2-1. And we were starting to get maybe wee bits of luck that maybe the management team before me weren't getting. And then we'd Cumnock second last game. If we won, we stayed up, and we beat Cumnock 5-1 that night. And again, I couldn't enjoy it. I couldn't enjoy staying up because I know people celebrate. I couldn't celebrate staying up. I think that's.
I know what you mean. Like, obviously, there's the relief there, but did you have a bit of, see, when you've beaten Cumnock and you know you're staying up? Do you have a bit of looking forward straight away in next season? You're like, how do I get a team that is going to be better than this to make sure this doesn't happen?
It was more so the fact that I knew there was going to be a big turnover in players. There was going to be people want to go.
Was that through your choice,
Well,
or
both those players that probably didn't like the way I went about things. There was players I didn't like the way they went about things. There was players I wanted to keep that I couldn't. There was players that left that I didn't want to leave. That's football. That's natural. That's just what happens. But I just felt at the time we were missing legs and energy, and I've tried to add that this year. But replacing Paul Payton and Moffat and guys like that, it wasn't easy. And
that's not just on the part replacing them,
no,
it's what you're getting.
Pate's professionalism. I know I've only worked with Craigmark, Whitlis, and New Glens. It's the best. It's the best I've came across. He was brilliant about the place. He might not agreed with things at times, and standards were at times weren't up to his standards. But he never, again, trained all the time. Never missed a session. He just he played at a level because of that, because of standards, and he was really, really good to work with. Really good to work with.
You've gone into this season, St. Caddick's game 4-3, first game of the season, which on paper looked an absolute belter the way the scoring went. You've beaten Darvel. It looks great, 6 out of 6. Then you're kind of heavily beaten by the Borough, 4-0, and then 3-0 to Cumnock. And then you get your draw against Hurlford. It's been a bit of a mixed bag. How have you felt about it so far this season?
The first 2 games were probably had everybody available. And listen, I know every other club gets injuries, but Paul, we're probably one of the bottom 3 budget wise in the league, right? I don't like talking about budgets. I hate talking about budgets. I would love a shot at these other ones, right? But I've got the budget I've got, and I'm happy with the budget I've got because, again, these guys are giving you everything they can. So I felt this year we'll carry a smaller group to spread the budget better. So our strength was going to be in our unity, our togetherness. That's the mentality I'm trying to bring in, which we're getting there with. But then you get 2 or 3 injuries at once, and so with full strength against St Caddi's, we're full strength against Darvel. Darvel we rode a luck at times, but got to win. That's what matters. St Caddi's the same, and then we lose Ross Lindsay, we lose Pets. Shuggy Kerr had a win, came back, 4 hours sleep, played against Hurlford. So all these wee things were. I ended up having to bring my brother Liam back just for the Hurlford game for numbers. So the point against Hurlford was probably a good point. At the time, I'm fucking raging and all that, but looking back with no Ross Lindsay, no Pet, I think we had 4 or 5 missing the Hurlford game. There's a couple of 20s in the bench. Johnstonborough were just far better than us, and the coming up one's the worst one for me yet. Following all my years as management, even the Beard game, I'm talking getting beat 9-0. It's like Johnstonborough we competed, as in we worked hard and we pressed. They were just, sometimes you just got to put your hand up and say they were better than us. Cumnock, we never laid a glove on them. And it could be a bit of both. Cumnock were very good in the day, but for me, with every single thing that I've tried to install into the team, we never showed any of that day. Hard work, character, desire, 3 non-negotiables with me, and we showed none of it. So that was probably the most disappointing one so far for me, which will never happen again because it's, I'm sure it'll not happen again. Then we get into the Hurlford game, we're depleted. I've got 2 boys patched up playing the middle pitch, and probably a good point because you're up against Hendo, an experienced team with the boys we spoke about, and we got the point. But would I took 7 for the first 5 games? I probably would have. Mm-hmm. Being honest, I'm not going to be one of these managers that's going to talk shite. I'll be honest. And do we deserve the 7? The managers that have took the 7 points, we might say no. I think we do. So, do we deserve to lose the 2 games? Aye, we did. We didn't deserve to get in and out of the games. So that evens itself out of the season. I think you'll have games where you'll dominate and get nothing.
You look at that start there, the 7 points for 5. Unless my math is poor, if you do that for every 5 games, say that's 42 points, and you're very safe, and it's an improvement of 9 points on last season. So you're saying, well, we're moving in the right direction. This episode will be out, so we're recording this a week earlier for when it's going to be out. So you've got Beath this weekend, which will have been by the time this is out. But what do you think going into that game on Saturday against Beath, who some people are saying it's not the same team they've had the last 2 years in terms of they've won the league deservedly. So I think Straney is probably one of the best managers at this level. I genuinely think that he's top draw. You even see that with his co-winning team. Gets them 4th in the league, I think it was. He leaves, they get relegated, and they've struggled ever since.
The job Straney's done here's a joke.
But it shows the importance of certain players like Kieran Drivers is away at St Caddi's now. B don't have his goals this season. What's your thoughts going into Saturday? And you can be honest now because this is going to be after the game.
Straney always finds a way, right? You need to remember he lost the boy Fowler before Divers, and you're thinking, how's he going to replace that? How's he going to replace the goals? And then he goes and finds Divers. And I told 2 or 3 managers at the time about Divers because obviously we'd played against him at Renfrew and that. Mm-hmm. And he's got him in, and boy scores goals. You can't take that away from him. So again, he's got that to try and replace, and then he loses the boy O'Neill, which is I would say that's probably a bigger one than Divers for me, just because he's probably a leader of the group and that kind of stuff. But Straney, as you say, the job he's done there's brilliant. Oh man! And again, he was probably a player that the way he played at times, he ruffled feathers and he upset people, and he wears his heart on his sleeve at the side of the pitch. A bit like myself at that. He's vocal. He's a fucking jack in the box, but you take that away for Straney, you've not got Straney. So I am looking forward to getting back, and hopefully it's not the same as the last visit we had there. But we'll be prepared better. We had a break there, as in whenever the game is Saturday, which we probably needed. And I know it's 5 games in, but we were struggling numbers wise with injuries and knocks and niggles, and it's helped us recharge, or no recharge, but kind of rest people and get them the right treatment they need. And so we're going to be hopefully with everybody available, and we'll go and attack it the best way we can. But we're under the illusion that we're up against a right good side, because you can see that they lost the boy O'Neill, but they bring in Ricky Little.
I know.
He's played with 10 years. So, aye, it'll be a tough. But really, listen, there's no easy game in this league. There's none.
Just to finish us up, this season, what would be a successful season for you? Obviously, you start of the year, you want to go and win the league,
Scottish, win the West, win the South Challenge. That'd be brilliant.
What would be an acceptable season?
Listen, I think you've got to be. You'll have your own personal, as in like what me and my coaching team have spoke about, and what we spoke about in the changing room. As a club, I think staying in the league is realistic, because again, you're competing against some. For the first time, Paul, I think there's 5 or 6 that could win that league,
Right.
and I think there's 3 or 4 that probably need to win the tap league, and not everybody can. So it'll probably be staying in the league, and you've also got senior Scottish, and you've got the junior, the West, and a cup run as well, and try and. Personally, I would just love to give the fans a team that they can relate to. As I said, a hard-working group that, even if you get beat, the fans can't turn and say, he's never done this yet. As long as they work their nuts off, that's what all these people want down here. They're not asking for miracles. They're not asking for you to be Barcelona. They want a team that they can relate to, and to relate to, they need to be hard-working, they need to graft, and it'll take time to get everybody on board with that, because I feel as if I've brought the right characters in. But it's been a bit stop-start. I know it's only 5 games, but losing, like Ross Lindsay has been unbelievable. As in, he's not aggressive, he's not going to smash in a tackle, but we miss his calmness, we miss him taking the ball, putting his foot on it. Then you lose Pets, you miss Pets as well. We never had Ollie for a game. Ollie for me is arguably one of the best centre-halves in the division. He attacks the ball brilliant. So we've got a mix now. Michael Mullen's unbelievable. What Michael can do, he can do it, and his finishing's as good as MDs I've seen. Minimum, he hits the target, Michael. And Shuggy Kerr, and also, again, I'm maybe being biased, but I think I've got arguably 2 of the best strikers in the division as well, which I think will keep us. If we've got everybody fit and available, I think we'll be okay. But you never know. You never know. But realistically, win the league, win the Scottish, win the South, win the West, and
I don't think that's asking for too much.
And get Celtic at home in the senior. I'll be happy with that.
I'll tell you what, something like that. How important would something how important would something like that be to the club to get, like Darvel had Aberdeen the other year there?
Well, I think doing that way, it would be more so Rangers.
Aye.
So I think maybe I've still got a couple to win over because of it, but that way. But aye, that would be unbelievable, wouldn't it? Again, that's the kind of stuff. Even just to manage it in a game like that would be fucking crazy. But speed first.
Well, fortunately in the West, we're now in a position where teams can get that opportunity, and hopefully it's something that happens. But look, mate, I genuinely really appreciate you coming on and being my first guest of the solo podcast. It's been brilliant speaking to you. Thanks a lot, mate.
Oh, cheers, buddy. Thank you.
Cheers. For everybody listening, I hope you've enjoyed the episode. It's good to be back, and I hope you find that yourself. But remember, like the episode and subscribe to the channel, because it makes a huge difference to me. Thanks a lot. Cheers.